Everyone expects pregnancy after loss to be hard. No one warns you that parenting after loss is just as complicated. I've had 8 pregnancies, 6 losses, and 2 rainbow babies. I've also spent 12 years supporting lost moms through an online Facebook group. In this video, I'm going to talk about the anxiety, guilt, and fears that no one talks about when it comes to parenting after pregnancy loss. Hi, my name is Bianca Johnson. I'm an empowerment coach at Bianca Johnson Empowerment, and I support pregnancy loss parents to feel less alone in the world. By the time I had a full-term pregnancy, it was the 4th pregnancy in a year. I had quite a lot of anxiety that I was dealing with. I continued to see a therapist throughout my son's pregnancy, as well as after I gave birth to him. Because the thing that nobody mentions is that anxiety doesn't leave you the moment you have a baby in your arms. I felt so much guilt. My son was not an easy baby. He didn't sleep. He screamed in the car every single time we put him in the car, from the time we took him home from the hospital at 3 days old until he was almost 2. He was a difficult child. I had wished so hard for that baby. He was the 4th pregnancy in a year. Why didn't I like being his mother? And then I was guilty about feeling guilty, because one of the things that no one tells you is you've tried so hard to have a baby and you're so excited to have a baby, and then when the baby is difficult, you feel guilty about feeling guilty that you aren't enjoying it. Another thing that was quite difficult for me was the fact that other mums were able to complain freely, but it felt like I just wasn't allowed, because I should be grateful that I have this baby. I call bullshit on that. Wanting a baby doesn't make lack of sleep any easier. Wanting a baby doesn't make dealing with colic any easier. Wanting a baby and dealing with a screaming child every time you have to go anywhere in a car does not make that any easier. Loss doesn't mean you can't dislike the hard parts of parenting. I spent so much time suppressing my needs with this new baby. I'm not allowed to complain. Other people have it worse. My inner critic constantly telling me, "You wanted this, stop whining." It was really difficult. And then there were the fears that showed up. I tell the story in my book about Schrödinger's baby. The first time my son slept through, because he was a terrible sleeper. He was about 10 months old, was the first time that he slept through, and it was instant panic for me. I remember waking up in the morning and realizing that we'd slept through the night. I was convinced that he had died of SIDS. I was desperately afraid, because I'd been on the wrong side of statistics so many times already, that this just had to be it. And I could never, ever be the first person to go in if Carl had slept late. My husband had to go in, because if I was the first one, I think I would have fallen apart. And the funny thing is, he's almost 12, and if he sleeps late or I don't hear him on a weekend up before I'm up, I have those little niggles of anxiety that something's happened to him in the night. It's a lot less often now, but certainly probably until he was 5 or 6, if he slept in, I was panicked, and Brian had to go and have a look to see if he was okay. The other thing as well is that parental anxiety shows up in really weird places. Every intersection that I drove through would imagine potential car accidents happening. I remember once realizing that I had given him undercooked chicken and I didn't realize how undercooked it was, and I was convinced that I was poisoning my kids. Realizing in a moment where you hadn't looked at the expiry date on medication and realizing that the medicine was expired, what was I creating? Medical complications. And the thing as well is that anxiety, because it was so prevalent, was not just about my kids anymore. It permeated my whole life. I was still checking every time I went to the toilet. Was there blood? Spotting signs that something was going wrong. Even when I wasn't pregnant, even years later, Even now in perimenopause, it's become another extra thing that I am paying attention to. I think pregnancy loss rewires your brain for hypervigilance. We're constantly on edge. Leonie Dawson talks about something when normal people hear hoofbeats. They don't think zebras, they think horses. Whereas I think once you've experienced pregnancy loss, your brain's almost always going to go to zebras. You've been on the wrong end of the statistics. You've been the one so many times that we have a tendency to assume that something bad is going to happen, that we're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. Some of the things that actually helped were giving myself permission. Permission to find parenting hard and have desperately wanted this child. Both things can be true simultaneously. Giving myself permission to accept that complexity is normal, not failure. That we literally can feel two completely opposite things at the same time. Another important part of the things that helped was creating a support system. For me, it was about having a therapist. I saw mine throughout Carl's pregnancy, as well as the best part of a year after he was born. When I couldn't find a lost mum community that I needed, I created it. It's important to find a community of people who get it. And if you're in a relationship, having a conversation with your partner and letting them know what it is that you need, like not being the person to go and check on our kids first thing in the morning. And I think really important part of this is naming it. Parenting after loss anxiety is absolutely real, and it can be exacerbated by natal anxiety disorders. It's not a character flaw, and it's not overreacting. When you've experienced loss, your anxiety is already heightened throughout the pregnancy. It doesn't just magically disappear once you have your baby. And recognizing it as a trauma response, it's something that needs compassion, not curing. Understanding all of those things really helped me to feel less strange in the situation. I remember so much guilt and feeling guilty about not enjoying parenting when I'd tried so hard for it. So please know that you're not alone in that. You are allowed to have these emotions. Your baby can be desperately wanted and still be something that is very difficult for you. If you're parenting after loss, you're not broken. You're rewired. Your anxiety makes sense. You've been on the wrong end of statistics already. It really isn't unusual to have a lot more anxiety around your children. Remember as well that as your life grows, you grow around your grief, and your parenting grows around your lost mom identity, and you're able to be the parent that you read about in the books. Maybe, probably not, because it's all rubbish anyway. If this resonates with you, my book, All of These Lines, has a whole chapter on this. Chapter 6, it's called Wrecking Ball, because that was sort of what Carl felt like at the time. The link is below. And if you're struggling, you can always book a transform call. Let's chat. It's an hour of my time where you can really just feel seen and understood. And remember, you're doing better than you think. Your rainbow babies are lucky to have you.